What's up, YouTube? Capital G here with the first of many deck profiles on this channel. We are starting things off with my favorite deck. Obviously, you guys can see Lunalight, and we just got our final pieces of support coming out of circuit break, so it makes sense to do this. I could have done this deck profile maybe a few weeks ago, but when Gofu went the one that really threw a monkey wrench into my plans, I wasn't really sure where to go with the archetype, had to test a whole bunch of stuff, and I didn't want to throw this deck together because it is like my favorite archetype, so I wanted to make sure it was as good and consistent and competitive as possible. Now, this is just my take on Lunalight, and it's kind of fine-tuned for my playstyle. You guys might not agree, and you guys can probably give me tips if there's certain things you don't agree with, or if there's any suggestions, just please leave those in the comment section below. I am going to shoot for 2 of these deck profiles a week, mainly going to focus on rogue deck. I'm not going to focus on making the deck's budget, but I will offer budget versions of the deck list if you guys, or the profiles, if you guys are interested in seeing that. I'm fairly new to deck profiling, so you guys kind of have to let me know what you're interested in seeing. I don't think that there's anything else that I need to cover. Actually, no, there is one more thing. If you enjoy this type of content, guys, if you want to see more deck profiles or whatever other deck profiles you guys want to see, leave it in the comment section below, and please give this video a thumbs up, because obviously I've invested a lot in being able to give you guys alternative forms of content. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but this video is being shot in 4K 60 frames per second. This is the new standard of deck profiles when it comes to YouTubing, guys. Do not accept anything less than that. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We start things off with 3 copies of Lunalight Black Sheep. This is really the most important Lunalight in the deck. I know Kaleido Chick's really great, but Black Sheep is essentially the card that you will always need to see the win. I don't think I've won a single duel without resolving this card. She has 3 different effects. One of them obviously gets you Polymerization or Fusion Substitute. The second gets you any double L except herself from your graveyard in case you lose something early in the duel and you need to recover it. And then the third being that when she is used as a fusion material, she can add back one of your Lunalight monsters from your graveyard or face up from your extra deck. So she's kind of a jack of all trades, and she's not really a world beater. You don't ever really summon her onto the field with, like, attacking in mind or anything like that, but she's an excellent card. You will summon her off of Tiger and off of off of Perfume occasionally. You have next up the Heart and Soul of the deck, 3 copies of Lunalight Kaleido Chick. This card is the entire reason that this deck is even worth running right now. If there was no Kaleido Chick, I would not even recommend you even attempt to play double Ls, because she, just like Black Sheep, gives you excellent resource management. When she's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, she adds Poly back into your hand. So when you take these 2 and you fuse with them, she'll add back a monster, she'll add back a Poly. So you don't even go neg when you fusion summon with her. When this card is banished, she locks out your opponent's battle phase from activating any card effects. And then, of course, her most important effect, the fact that she can, send things like Panther Dancer straight to the graveyard, or Cat Dancer, so that you can use her name, or you can use her as that name when fusion summoning. This also works as a really nice Foolish Burial that is a cost, so you can activate it under skill drain, or even if her effect is being negated, you can still activate her. That's really awesome, because it works really nicely with Tiger and Perfume as well, for like some Exceed plays or for some Link plays. Next up, we have 3 copies of the Blue Cat. I think 3 copies is fine. Some people might think that 2 is okay, but you do need good turn 1 plays. Even though Lunalights want to go second 99% of the time, there will be times where your opponent forces you to go first. If you don't have the option to make Bagusta, this is your best chance of survival. This card is a floater. When it's destroyed by card effect or by battle by either player, it summons any double L from your deck. It is not a hard once per turn, and it's just really good because it's one of the only cards you can kind of put up there, or you can put out there on an island, whether it be face up or face down, and you actually feel relatively safe. So I think Blue Cat is really nice, and she has that second effect where if she is special summoned, you can target a double L other than herself, and that monster's original attack becomes doubled. That's how you OTK a lot of times with the fusion monsters. I have 3 copies of the first Pendulum Skill, which is Lunalight Tiger. I've been talking about this. This is essentially your Monster Reborn in the Pendulum Scale, and your floating effect is the on-field effect. It does the same thing as Blue Cat as far as floating. The only difference is this one actually summons a monster from the graveyard, and it's just a really good card. If it's destroyed in the Pendulum Zone, then it can still activate that effect. So if your opponent's really foolish enough and destroys that, it's just really nice for you. And this card is super solid. I think you should run 3 copies copies of it. 3 copies of Lunalight Wolf. This might seem like a lot, and honestly, sometimes she can kind of be a brick card if you draw her too early in the duel. She's a Miracle Fusion from the Pendulum Scale. She is not a hard once per turn from that Pendulum Scale effect. You don't ever really summon her. I think I've summoned her, I don't know, maybe 2 times in like 30 duels or something like that. Her on-field effect gives your Lunalight monsters piercing. It's really not that relevant. She's level 6. You can't Pendulum summon her, which is, that's the reason you never summon her. But that Miracle Fusion effect is just invaluable because it makes this a 1-card Leo Dancer, and it can trigger Kaleido Chick's effect, so your opponent can't use any effects in the battle phase. So you basically just lock them out of the battle phase, out of battle traps, and you kill them. I run the final 2 double L's, which are Crimson Fox and 1 copy of White Rabbit. I have a love-hate relationship with both of these cards. Like, this one's kind of like a Blackwing Blizzard. It summons any double L from your graveyard in defense mode. It's kind of nice, and it has a mini giant Trunade effect. The main problem with it is most of the time you want to normal summon either Blue Cat or like Kaleido Chick. You don't really want to normal summon this card. There will be some instances where this card can be useful. For the most part, I just use it for fusion summoning. And then you have Crimson Fox. When she's sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your opponent's monsters. You make that monster 0 attack. So this plus Panther Dancer, a lot of times you're going to OTK your opponent because Panther Dancer can attack that 0 attack monster twice, and it's basically like attacking him directly because you do 5,600 damage, and then she gains 200 attack. So that's like pretty OP. Then we have the Kaiju package of Gamecill, Thunder King, and Kumongus. So the thing about Lunalights is this deck will always go second, and Kaijus work naturally well when you're going second. There's actually a really nice OTK if you have these two. You summon them from like Interrupted Slumber, you give your opponent the Gamecill, you take Thunder King, you can attack over this for 1,000 damage, and if you can make a Lunalight Leo Dancer, that's your other 7,000 damage. So it does exactly 8,000, and it only works with this one. If you summon this one, you can OTK, but you're going to need like 10th gear. You're going to need some type of attack modifier, but it's a really nice OTK, getting rid of problem cards like Bagusta, getting rid of that sleeper agent, and anything else that's like trying to stun you or lock you that your opponent puts on the board. You guys know the typical cards people summon this format and whatnot. Then we have the hand traps. We run multiple copies, 3 copies of Ash Forehead and a Max C. This deck wants to go second, guys, so you have to have some way of defending yourself. I've tried multiple other hand traps, Gamma, Ghost Ogre. I didn't really like them that much. I felt like these 3 were fine, and Maxi obviously just being the nuts. And this card works against too many good cards in the game, whether it be Double Helix or the Spiral Resort. Also works really good against Pot of Desires, as almost every deck in the game is playing Pot of Desires outside of Spiral. So these are the hand traps. Now onto the spell cards. We run 3 copies of your Lunalight Perfume, the only spell in this archetype, which by default makes it the best spell, and actually it's the best spell in this deck. This is a Monster Reborn and a Rhoda, and both essentially in 1 card. Obviously you activate it, and it activates as it resolves as a Monster Reborn for any of your double L's. It doesn't restrict them from attacking or anything like that. And then the second effect, you can banish this, and then you discard a card from your hand, and then you get the Rhoda for any of your monsters. That's important because this is the only way this deck has of searching for the copy of Lunalight Wolf, which this next card, which is also a searcher, cannot search for. Yeah, we run 3 copies of Tenki because this is a Beast Warrior deck. Unfortunately, Tiger has to be, or not Tiger, but Wolf has to be a high level, so Wolf can't be searched from this, but this is a really good card. And that 100 attack, it can matter with Panther Dancer, because I've had turns where Panther Dancer has attacked like 6 times in a turn. So yeah, that 100 damage can actually add up, but it's usually not that relevant unless it's being used with like Panther Dancer or Leo Dancer. Again, it's a Beast Warrior deck, so you run Tenki. I run Polymerization. This is a fusion deck, so run this. I do not run any copies of Fusion Substitute, just the 3 polys, because I found Fusion Substitute to be inconsistent. Like, it's really good in the first turn or so, and there are some really nice things you can do with it. You can discard it to the graveyard to activate Perfume, then send it back and draw 1 card. But I don't know, I felt like that 1 draw was never really getting me where I needed to go. And most of the time, 90% of the time, I would have just rather had Polymerization so I could use cards in my hand. So 3 polys. You could probably get away with 2 polys though. Next up, we got to go next. So 3 copies of Pot of Negnime. No, in all seriousness, Pot of Desires is really good. You guys have seen most of the cards that I've shown you so far are running multiples, so it really doesn't hurt to lose any one card in this deck. We have multiple polys. Even if you, hypothetically, if you banish all your polys, you still have 3 copies of Wolf. So losing one card is not really, or losing any one copy of a card is not a big deal. This is an OTK deck, so having that extra card for the potential OTK is too good not to run. We run our board wipes, which are Interrupted Slumber, Regeki, and Dark Hole. These are very important because if you use them in conjunction with Blue Cat, these will activate, these 2, Dark Hole and Slumber, will activate the Blue Cat's effect. You can just summon her, you can activate your Dark Hole, you can blow up the field, and then you can summon your Kaleido Chick straight from the deck, and hopefully you can just OTK your opponent. Obviously, I told you guys about the OTK with Interrupted Slumber. Interrupted Slumber is actually just better than Dark Hole in this deck, but you still run both because this gives you a big-ass monster on board. And then the only trap card I think should be in this deck is 3 copies of Why Did They Make This card. Evenly Match is so stupid. I don't understand why they made this card. I've experimented with so many traps. I know that the regional guy did run Solemns instead of Evenly Matched. Here's my thing. Lunalights always want to go second, and there's only one trap in the game that really works going second, and it's this card. A lot of times, Spirals or decks will make boards that are so big, you can't break through them, even with 6 cards in hand. This is a way of breaking through that with 1 card. Even if you don't OTK them, you can just, like, I don't know, you can set a Blue Cat or set a Tiger or something like that and know that you're perfectly fine. And then in the following turn, you just OTK them. So this card is just too dumb. You can side it out if you know you're going to go first for some reason. Now, to the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Cat Dancer. Not much really to say with Cat Dancer. I think I've only summoned her like 2 or 3 times. You don't really summon her all that often. For the most part, you just use her with Kaleido Chick. You dump her to the graveyard, and then you'll go for Panther Dancer if you're going to go for Panther Dancer. She is essentially just a worse version of this card. Panther Dancer has better stats. She can't be destroyed by card effects, 2,800, and she can make it so that every single monster on your opponent's side of the field cannot be destroyed the first time in battle. What that does is it makes it so that this bitch basically becomes a battering ram, and you ram her into all your opponent's little monsters, and that's how you OTK them. And every time she runs over a monster in battle and kills it, she gains 200 attack. So she progressively gets stronger as she keeps running into your opponent's monsters, and ultimately it just kills them. And then Queen Bee, my favorite card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Best card. 2 copies of Leo Dancer. Leo Dancer is a Magispector, can't die by card effects or can't be targeted, and she does 7,000 damage by herself. She can also blow up your opponent's special summon monsters after she's done her first attack. She can attack twice, by the way. Yeah, she's pretty damn good. We've got a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. It's like a Bagusta Light, honestly. Like, sometimes you'll go into this mainly, like, you go into this if your opponent has like a ridiculous big monster on board, something with a level like Fusion or like a Synchro monster, something you can just copy and just, like, you know, crash into them, but you don't go into it that often. We play the Utopia package, as I've stated multiple times. Lunalight is an OTK based deck. This is a card that gives you a ton of damage. You guys already know that. Summon this and beat over your opponent's little monster, do a ton of damage that way. Maybe in your next turn you can you know, banish for Leo Dancer with like Wolf and OTK them off that. We have 1 copy of Resident Sleeper number 41 Bagusta. I don't know why they made this card. This card, if you're ever forced to go first, this is the card you go into if you can go into it. This card basically tells your opponent, we are not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Until I feel like playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And sometimes you'll most of the time keep this card in defense for 2 turns until you can rack up enough cards in your hand to OTK them. Before that, just leave this in defense mode and just stall basically, because as you guys have seen, Lunalights don't have that many defensive cards. We have some Spell and Trap removal in Exceed form, Castel, and Tornado Dragon. Really cool with Tornado Dragon, you can pop your Tiger in the Pendulum Scale after you've used the Monster Reborn effect, and then you get a second Monster Reborn by summoning a monster off of her, you know, her monster effect. So that's pretty dope. And then Castel is pretty good. You can really replace the Castel. I don't think I've ever actually used it, so this can be something different if you guys want. If you want to go for like a rank 2 or something like that. I play Tiger King because we do play Tenki. This is a Beast Warrior deck, and the skill drain effect is actually probably better than Tenki in this deck. Just being able to skill drain your opponent is pretty nice. And then honestly, you can use this for Akashic Magician, which is dope because the only Link monsters we play are Akashic and Decode Talker. When we had Gofu, I was playing more Link monsters, but as of right now, these are the main 2 that I'm using. These probably will change in the future as we get more generic Link 2s, or, you know, bless the Lord, we ever get like a Lunalight Link monster. That would be pretty dope. And then finally, the one card I do not run Purple Purple Butterfly. Purple Butterfly is really amazing, but she's only good with the fusion monsters. She's only good with Leo Dancer. She's only good with Panther Dancer. And the problem is she's just not consistent enough. Like, if you can get these two cards on the field with her, it's just ridiculous. But she's not a quick effect, so you can't even use her during the damage step, and you can't use her during your opponent's turn. So she's nice, but she's just kind of icing on the cake, and she's not consistent. If you could use her during the damage step with these two, yeah, I would use her, because her plus her, like, a lot of times is an OTK. So whatever you guys thought, please let me know in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed this type of content, give the video a big thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching, as always. And again, understand that this is my first time doing a deck profile, so whatever I messed up on, hopefully it will improve in the future.